SLU International Business Now, Conversations That Matter is a podcast developed by the Boeing Institute of International Business in St. Louis University's Chaffetz School of Business. Special thanks to founder Dr. Sung Kim for his grant to support the launch of this podcast.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Jeff Klopfenstein, for International Business Now, Conversations That Matter. Today, I'm here to interview Steve Morris, who's the president of Sensient Flavors and Extracts. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, Jeff, it's really good to be on. Looking forward to our discussion today.
Well, Steve, tell me about Sensient and your role at Sensient.
Yeah, Jeff. So Sensient is a $1.6 billion publicly traded company. We have about 4,000 employees and operate in over 20 countries in which we manufacture and have R&D and sales in all those different countries. You know, we're an essential business that develops, produces, and supplies critical food, pharmaceutical, and personal care ingredients to the world. We make products like flavors and colors, flavor ingredients, color ingredients, and sell those to, very large corporations down to startup customers.
What value proposition drives success for Sensient?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. I think there's 4 or 5 things, and one of them is relentless service to our customers, and I'll come back and talk about that in just a second. But also, we really have a host of good products and technologies that help our customers differentiate their finished goods in the market, and just as importantly, we've got a team of technical experts that can help them deploy those or utilize those in their finished goods. And that becomes a very important part of how we work with our customers. The fourth thing is we're very easy to do business with. We try to be extremely flexible and we find ways to say yes to our customers. And then last, we really work with great agility. And so we can be, as I talk, kind of flexible. But we can work with the customer however they want to engage, to high level of service, to if they've got really great developers, we'll get them enough information that their team can do it. If you go back on the service level, we learned long ago that you can have great technologies and everything else, but if you're not getting customers high quality product on time, they're not going to do business with you. And so a few years ago, we took on really a very strong effort to put this into systems. We monitor, daily, weekly, monthly, how we're performing from an on-time delivery, making sure we don't recommit orders, how quickly are our documentations getting to customers, pricing quotes. Everything that the customer values, we are measuring, and we hold, each of the teams accountable. We're a very decentralized organization, but I review with my set of general managers very routinely how they're performing against those. And if things go red, we're trying to figure out why. So we don't manage to the metric, but we use the metrics to help us keep getting better. And I review those on a monthly level with our CEO and our executive staff. And so it's a very important fact to us. And so how we operate becomes very data driven. And also we seek a lot of feedback. We talk about having good products and helping our technologists to help deploy those, but we also measure and understand what's working well and why our products are different, and then how can we help customers, and as we learn those performance factors, be able to deploy those, even make better solutions. So become a very data driven business.
And Steve, you talked about retaining customers and gaining new customers.
Yeah.
So retaining customers, that to me makes a lot of sense. Of earn your right to stay a supplier by proving your worth each day.
Yeah.
How does that work in terms of gaining new customers? How do you show up at a new potential client and say, we're going to serve you better?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And again, I think it's being able to prove it. So we can come in and talk to customers and show them how we perform overall in different industry segments, especially if areas are having challenges. I reflect back on the supply chain kind of meltdown right after COVID. And even though things were falling apart around us, we maintained a very, very high service level to all of our customers because we were prepared organizationally to handle that. And so at that time, when many of our competitors and other suppliers may have been letting them down, we were able to get them, good quality products on time. And that builds a lot of credibility within the industry. And that's, I think, why it's become a real core tenet of one of the things that we do very, very well.
So you're known for that in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things we market very heavily and talk about. Yeah, it's not the only reason that customers buy from us, Jeff. We also have a great lineup of products and technologies that allow our customers to differentiate their finished goods to the end markets. And by working very closely with them, also, we've got a lot of very skilled technical people that can help them apply those products and those technologies in a variety of applications. And you combine those good products with very good technical support, really helps you win new business as well.
What's driving growth for Sensient?
Yeah, there's a few things. One is, there's a lot of continued emphasis on health and wellness, and that takes on a lot of forms. It's removing things that sound bad in products. It's reducing salt or reducing sugar in products. And so you look at a lot of the projects we work on now are built around building back flavor, building back texture, building back things that you lose when you remove things like sugar and salt that are inherently flavor enhancing, or if you're adding other things in, like in functional foods, we add we're able to overcome that with technologies that mask those flavors or enhance other things that make the products taste good. Because we're in so many different segments, we can ebb and flow depending on what's happening. It allows us to continue to follow those trends. We've got good technologies that help our customers make better products for their consumers.
Steve, you're running a global business. And tell me, what are the challenges you see every day in this global business?
Yeah, I think there's several things. One of them is, how do you determine what markets and segments you want to go participate in? And when I say participate, those are the ones that you feel you've got a differentiation in terms of products and services. It tells you where you want to invest your people and your capital and where you think you can win at. So I think that's number one. Number two is around how do you keep everybody focused? And there's a lot of things that are going on, whether it was COVID in 2020, whether it was the supply chain meltdown after that, or right now we're dealing with tariffs. It creates a lot of noise for an organization. And you want to keep everybody focused on the mission versus worrying about the other things. And like all organizations, the third thing is how do you go find and retain, good, talented people to help you grow your business?
Trying to adapt to the mega trends now, how do those provide opportunities or challenges for Sensient?
Yeah, that's a good follow-on. So as you look at which segments do you go participate in, it's not just which product and which category you want to go focus on. It's also which trends do you want to really pursue from a organizational standpoint. So take an example, the big mega trend in foods has been for years around health and wellness. And that takes on a lot of aspects where customers may be trying to remove salt or reduce sugar or add in things that are beneficial, like other ingredients, including protein and other things that maybe don't taste as well. So that is you go look at a segment like that and say, okay, can we win in a segment like this? And so as we look at customers, we've been able to work with multiple folks that maybe are both big and large that are challenged by these areas. And as everybody knows, sugar tastes really good. It's sweet. It builds good mouthfeel. You reduce sugar. So how do we help build back with technologies and know-how so we can develop a product that is not only a little bit healthier but still tastes good, and so the consumer wins and our customers win by being able to put innovative products on the market. Another area that you look at from a segment strategy standpoint is, if you look at snacking right now, because of the continued buildup on healthy awareness, snacking is under pressure right now. But you break that segment apart and you look at healthy snacking, and it's really growing very rapidly. And so again, you look at what problems may those companies be challenged with, and yeah, they're adding protein or other things like that into the product, but those do create for taste and texture challenges is right where we play, and we can help big companies and small companies alike through technologies and applying our technical assistance.
When you're looking at megatrends and looking for trend setters, where do you look for those trend setters or the people that'll tell you what you'll be focusing on 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's probably the multi-million dollar question, Jeff. We look a lot at sales data. We look at a lot of different organizations that track different product introductions. we go to restaurants and other places and look what's happening in those trends. And those kind of things, they start to pop up and give you some indication of what's moving. And it's a challenge, but by picking up that information and we share some of that data with our customers too, and help them kind of decide how they tweak their product portfolio. And then you always look for startup companies. They tend to be able to move very quickly, and they can have some innovative products on the market that can be very interesting too.
When I was traveling the world, I used to go to Japanese grocery stores to see what was coming 5 years from now in the United States.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. It's one of the things I do when I travel around the world, and I encourage everybody, when you go to another country, go to the market, go to restaurants, go to the grocery stores, and you'll see a lot of different stuff. And what's very interesting, your example is, hey, looking in those stores, kind of maybe what's coming to the US. What's equal is other countries want to know what's going on in the US because that could be coming to their countries. And so that's one of the strengths of being a global organization. We can pull from what's going on in New Zealand, or we can pull what's going on in Japan, or we can pull what's going on in Italy as well as the US, and transfer that knowledge to many, many customers.
Can you talk about success stories in your organization and where people would say, well, maybe they wouldn't know, but they're sentient inside.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple, maybe generic examples as we keep our relationships with our customers obviously very confidential. But we've had, especially in the health and wellness space, as people have been and customers have been looking to add in positive ingredients like protein or other things, and those do cause taste challenges. And as they want these products to taste like mainstream everyday products that people are used to, and we've been able to help a couple of these folks solve those problems, make their products taste like things that everybody's used to, and they've been had some really good successes, and grown and become nationally recognized. And so it's always a really good feeling when you go to the store. I can point that out and say, hey, I know we're inside of that, and people are enjoying it, and you start to see it. Those brands pop up around the country. So it's really a fun thing to see.
So we can look forward to more healthy food in our markets that not only is healthy for us, good for us, but tastes good too.
Yeah, we truly believe that.
How do you determine where you're going to put your R&D? Where's the next innovation?
Yeah, a couple things we look at. We do look at these trends and these challenges, and then we try to look for gaps in the market. And so, we talk to customers, and we ask, hey, if you had a magic wand, what would you like to have to solve a problem? And they will give you some insights. Look at the trends, and putting those together, we work with our R&D scientists, are there paths to solving this problem? We'll start through a funnel process by which we say, okay, here's an opportunity. We think we've got a technology. We keep marching that through each stage, and are we able to close it technically? And do we still think the market will value this when we get to the end? And so we go through a very rigorous pipeline process from an R&D standpoint, and work on things that are maybe going to launch this year, and then multiple years out. And we also look at kind of enabling technologies that maybe help fill gaps that are in the market today that technologies don't readily exist. And so that feeds into a lot of our development work that we do, and I think a lot of companies as well.
I suppose nobody's got a bachelor's of science in flavors, right? So
No, yeah.
where do you go to find this R&D talent?
Yeah, a lot of our folks are food scientists, and so they got a basic understanding of how to formulate food, and then we'll teach them how to utilize flavors and other ingredients. There are some universities in Europe that do teach flavor specifically, but we also kind of look for just good general scientists in different areas. And we've got a bunch of folks that are educated in a bunch of different science areas that we can deploy. So it's not just about being able to formulate food, but it may be about how to manufacture it, flavor and flavor ingredients, and maybe a lot of engineers as well that know how to build the equipment that we can do on a bench top. And so there's a lot of places that we pull on in the scientific community to help us.
Steve, of course, people are all about how do you perform is through your people. And so why would a talented person want to join Sensient?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. One, we're an extremely flat organization, and that gives individuals a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different jobs in the organization. And we have a very robust development program where managers sit down with their employees and map out with them, how can they progress in the career? What do they need to do now to get better? What do they need to do later to get to the positions that they want? So we have a high level of promotion from within the business. I'm a good example. I've been with the company 18 years. I started in a sales position. I'm now the president. So there's an opportunity if you can work hard. Um, you succeed, you get results that you can get into really any position that you want, and we also encourage people to move out of their comfort zone. So maybe if you're a technical person and you want to move into sales, or you're an accountant and you want to move into sales, we highly support that, and we'll encourage people to explore different paths in their career. And so I think as a young person, or even somebody in the middle of their career that's looking for a place to stay for a long time, we're a really good organization to do that.
And so bringing in a new customer facing employee, how long does it take to take a new customer facing employee and ingrain that kind of culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we have a very rigid onboarding process. So before we even start looking for the employee, we develop an onboarding program, and kind of depending on what role they're going into, they'll get a variety of areas. If we're talking our sales team, they're in our labs for multiple weeks, learning our technologies, learning why we win, learning how to work with customers. And so it takes several weeks of training. But in reality, it can take you know um, weeks and months and years to really totally understand everything that we do. But it's definitely a rigid process we run early on.
And related to that, Sensient operates all around the world, and how are the cultures different? I know your experience of working and living in Europe. How are the cultures different around the world in Sensient?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's always a challenge because everybody has different ways of solving problems. But a couple of things, we set a really core set of standards that we all operate. So we have kind of a common culture, sentient culture, if you will, built upon integrity, professionalism, safety, and as I mentioned earlier, finding ways to say yes to our customers, and that builds a backbone of a common culture, and so everybody's moving in the same direction. Number two is, built on, we talked about the service metrics, we're all using the same one. And so by having a data driven business and metrics that everybody is using that are exactly the same, it allows us all to, again, kind of solve problems, and it kind of breaks down those misunderstandings. And so everybody in the organization knows how we measure on time and full, right? And there's not 20 different ways in 20 different countries to measure that. And by doing that, it helps create that common language and a common culture, even when we're different from Mexico to China, from Australia to the US, and from France to to England. It can be challenging culturally, but by having a set of standards and metrics, I think it really helps break down a lot of those challenges.
In your career, you've lived in Europe,
Yeah.
and so you've experienced culture really from both sides of the ocean.
Yeah.
And how does that relate to that experience relate to your current role leading a global organization?
No, it's been very helpful. As I reflect back on it, Europe is a mix of a lot of different countries, and so you got to operate very differently. Even food is very different in each country. The flavor profiles and the products that go to market are different, and I think understanding how people think, how they communicate to each other is extremely important, and getting that experience those few years working in Europe across multiple cultures, even within the European Union, was very valuable. And then you expand that into working with teams in Mexico, teams in South America, Asia. It really helps you understand and listen a lot more, to make sure you're not jumping to conclusions, to be able to focus on jointly solving the problem, and understanding that different cultures solve problems differently. And so talking through that and making sure everybody understands. I think the final thing is if there's ever any doubt, you always want to go back and clarify if you guys are on the same page, if everybody understood what each other said, because yes can mean I heard you, and yes can mean I agree with you, and making sure that before you leave a room or before you go off, you've come to conclusion and make sure you're exactly on the same page is also very important.
Yeah, I can relate from my experience for sure.
Yes.
So sales execution measures, we've talked about the measures in serving customers. How about the measures in sales execution?
Yeah, that's it's a really important one for us, and a couple of things we really look at. Probably the most important is what does our pipeline of new opportunities look like, and how do we measure the progress on those, and then how do we measure the close rate on those, and then seeing how many projects we have coming is a good indicator of what growth we'll get later. And then starting to understand our win rate, and then even more importantly, why are we winning? And if you can just tweak a win rate by a few percentage points, your growth rate can accelerate. So it's a big part of what we do, but that takes a lot of effort from our commercial teams to make sure they're building a good pipeline, building those in the right segments and right markets that we believe we can win in, and then making sure we're monitoring that. And it's important because we want to make sure we're bringing the entire organization to focus on these opportunities, whether you're in technical, whether you're in operations. We want to make sure that everybody is getting behind and providing the commercial teams with all the tools they can to be successful. So it's a very important area, something that we look at. And we talk about new wins every week in the whole that we have in the globe. And we talk about why we were successful there, and what was it about that customer that made us successful, with the idea of how do we translate that knowledge to all the businesses.
So you've got a funnel. You've got a funnel that's very visible to across management.
Yeah, we run a CRM system that
Yeah.
we log every opportunity in. We know what stage it's in, we know how big it is. I talk to the GMs every week about, okay, how are you coming on the new wins, the next week, next month, next quarter? Are you on track for where you want to be? What did we win this past week? So it's a very visible and very monitored part of our organization.
And how about standardization? Tell me more about that, how that plays out.
Yeah, it's kind of a backbone, and again, customers may not really care how you get things done, but if you do it more efficiently and don't make mistakes, that's when they'll be very happy. And so we spent a lot of time over the past years not only implementing a common ERP system in almost every business, but more importantly, just putting kind of standard processes and how we take orders, how we ship orders, how we set up the systems, data management, all those things. It just makes it much more easy for the global organization to operate, and so we don't have a bunch of silos and then chances for breakdown there. But it really comes down to looking at those internal processes and how do you make them all the same in every country and every business, so you don't, when you have as many business units as we do, if you had that many different processes, it would make it a very chaotic organization. So we've got a group of people that focus on that and continue to focus on moving us closer and closer to common models.
And Steve, if you were to predict Sensient of 5 years from now, how would Sensient of 5 years from now be different than Sensient of today?
5 years from now, what I consider a major victory is we're helping all of our customers make their products taste better. So there are customers that we operate in that make indulgent products. We want to continue to help them make those taste super flavorful, and people can indulge in products that maybe aren't as healthy, as well as those companies trying to take advantage of the mega trends that are having challenges in health and wellness and making those products taste good. We've enabled them to make products for consumers to taste better. And so end of the day, we've really helped our customers provide food to the world that tastes really good, no matter what kind of diet they want to take on. It is really fun working in a company that we can work with a wide variety of customers that provide a wide variety of finished products to consumers, and it is a fun industry, and we have a lot of fun customers, and like I said many times, it's really nice to be able to walk into a store or some other place that they're serving food and go, I know we're in that, and I know we made that taste better.
Before we close today, let me ask you, do you have any final comments for our audience about the future of Sensient and how Sensient is operating around the world?
Yeah, I think it's a great time to be in the food ingredient space. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of the mega trends around health and wellness, around a lot of startup companies that are looking and creating innovative stuff, a lot of big companies as well. So that gives us a chance to do a lot of innovation and bring good products to market. And so it's a very exciting time. Being a global company allows us to take advantage of where the growth markets are and being in a lot of diverse markets. So very excited. And, like I mentioned, the service piece is very important to us. And we focus on that very much at a very top level. And we think as we continue to grow around the world, that becomes a key differentiator for us as well. So really great time to be at the company and looking forward to many years of growth.
Steve, thanks very much for taking this time to explain your role in Sensient, how Sensient is succeeding and thriving.
Yep.
And appreciate your time today.
Jeff, it's really good to join you. Thanks a lot for the time too.
We hope you'll join us next time as we continue to explore international business. I'm Jeff Klopfenstein, bringing you Conversations That Matter.
Thank you for tuning in to the SLU International Business Now Conversations That Matter podcast. We invite you to subscribe to this podcast series so you don't miss any future episodes. To learn more about the Executive Master of International Business program, please visit biib.slu.edu. Again, that's biib.slu.edu.